Here's a Voice of Music Model 131 portable record player from the mid-1950s. This is a smaller single-play portable unit. And we've taken unprofessionalism to a whole new level here. The original pickup cartridge was bad in this model. And unfortunately, this is not the type of tone arm that uses the standard 1/2 inch mount cartridge, so just as a temporary measure, I used a modern ceramic cartridge that I robbed out of some cheap modern junk record player, and I temporarily wired it in place and taped it to the tone arm with electrical tape. Yeah, professionals, we use electrical tape. Everybody else, they use duct tape, but anyway, this is not something that I'm going to leave permanent. I will find a better way to fix this. And actually, this type of cartridge is really not suited for this type of record player anyway, because these record players use a single stage amp, and they require a high output cartridge that produces in the order of 2 to 3 volts to give you full volume. This type of cartridge here only produces about 1/2 volt, so you have to crank the volume control all the way up to get any kind of reasonable sound out of it. Your other option would be to add a preamp stage to the existing amplifier chassis, and I have done that before. I just use a 6AV6 tube ahead of the output stage, and that will allow you to use one of these more modern cartridges. Here's the speed selector. This plays 16, 33, 45, and 78, and it's a little bit different type speed control than what's on most record players. That's 16, 33, 45, and 78. And I'll play you a little bit of a Marvin Gaye record. Can't play the whole thing because the copyright police might get their drawers in a knot. There's a tone control that really doesn't have a whole lot of effect on it. So many miles away. Okay, that's enough of that. But yeah, one day I will get around to fully restoring this thing and get rid of the black tape and the quarters and all that good stuff that we have taped to the tone arm. Here's the underside of the VM record player, showing the amplifier and drive mechanism. This drive mechanism is radically different than what's seen in most portable phonographs of the era. Actually, this is a relatively well-built unit. And there's the speaker and the underside of the amplifier that I've already done some work on, but what's probably going to happen is I'm going to gut this amplifier and rebuild it into a 2-tube amp instead of a single tube amp. Usually what I do on these is I remove the original filter capacitor can and I'll mount another tube socket where the capacitor was, and usually I'll use a 6AV6 preamp stage, and that will allow us to use a modern low output ceramic cartridge on one of these, because to my knowledge no one makes the traditional 3-volt high output crystal cartridges anymore, and the ones that are out there are new old stock, and many of those are not any good. They have problems too, problems just from sitting up not being used. So there you go, there's my mid-50s VM portable record player. Hope you enjoyed it, and I will make another video once it's fully restored. I almost forgot something. This record player, along with many other record players from the same time period, have the schematic diagram pasted on the inside of the cabinet, which is really nice of them. Nowadays, of course, they don't do that, and you're doing good to be able to get any kind of service information from the manufacturer. But back then, they had the repair of these products in mind, so they gave you everything you needed right here on the inside of the cabinet. Sort of reminds me of what GE did in the 1980s with their color TVs. They had what GE called a mini manual enclosed in the back of the television that contained the schematic diagram and other service information for the TV. And once again, that's not going to happen today. But anyway, there you go. Thanks for watching, and I'll have this thing up and running hopefully one day soon.